Let's stay on the topic now, as Ukrainian President Zelenskyy has met with US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg in Washington ahead of the planned meeting with President Trump to discuss Ukraine peace efforts. Zelenskyy, after meeting Kellogg, said that Ukraine is ready to work productively for peace. He further stated that Russia can only be forced into peace through strength. Well, also joining us to continue our discussions on this pivotal meeting, the second within days, is David K. Johnston, an American author who joins us from New York. David, a pleasure to have you back on the programme. Is there any significance in this meeting between Zelenskyy and Kellogg? Of course, Kellogg has been pivotal in conversations leading up to this point with Ukraine on the ongoing war.
Well, Zelensky's going to try and feel out if there's any softness in Trump's positions. And Donald, having no core philosophy, having no significant knowledge of the world or world history, can be very mercurial because there's no foundational material there. And he's a terrible negotiator. Having negotiated with Donald many times and always gotten everything I wanted, I tell you he's terrible. And I've written at length about terrible deals he's made because he doesn't know how to negotiate. It's all part of his con artistry. It's all an act. So, but Zelenskyy clearly wants to feel out if there's anything at all that he might be able to turn to his advantage. And no doubt he's also concerned that he'll get ambushed, as he was the last time he was in the Oval Office, what some journalists have wrongly called a shouting match. It was simply an effort to humiliate and undercut Zelenskyy on the world stage. He will certainly be thinking much more strategically about how to reply in any televised part of the meeting to J.D. Vance and Trump trying somehow to get him off his footings.
Yes, also joining us is Raymond Vickery, the former US Assistant Secretary of Commerce, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. Raymond, as always, a pleasure to have you on the programme. Let's look at the potential financial implications of this summit. Of course, sanctions threats on Russia have been there. We've spoken about those already. But there is serious instability here, with nations submitting and committing a lot of money to Ukraine in the form of defence, with potential ramifications elsewhere. How important is it for the global stability and economy that a deal is done sooner rather than later?
Well, it's very, very important. This is a linchpin of economic turmoil in the world today. And economic engagement is a key part of security engagement. You cannot separate those two aspects of the reality of international relations. What is happening now, of course, is a chaotic approach that President Trump seems to prefer, to create chaos in the form of a real estate developer, if you will, to try to get a bilateral deal based upon people fearing the worst maybe happen. I would hope that what would come out of this afternoon's meeting is some sort of looking at the need to wage peace by having a strategy just as you would have in war, and that strategy has to include the economic portion. At this point, the strategy is in tatters. You have threats against against India, but none against China. You do not have a comprehensive approach to how you bring in the economic aspect of this. I do think that this is one of the outcomes that can happen really with or without President Trump, if you can get the rest of the democratic world, in terms of Europe, Japan, Australia, and hopefully India, into some sort of cohesive approach that will complement a drive for peace in Ukraine. And without that, it's going to be extremely difficult to resolve the impasse which has been created. If you're just concentrating on what happens on the battlefield, and that is who gives up what land, and leaving out the economic aspect of it, it's not going to work in the long run.
Well, yes, let's move to another related